Hello?
Okay. The timekeeper.
Hi, Andrew. I think you're muted.
Better.
Yeah, much better. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Es-tu Gabrielle?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. I was just talking to a Gabrielle.
Yeah, the other one.
So, okay, cool.
So our timekeeper should be coming in soon, same as the other judges. How was the judge training?
Oh, pretty good. It was nice to have more context on the case.
Yeah.
I read it over last night, but it's always good to discuss about it.
Yeah, I agree.
I think this is my third year doing this, so I have the general idea.
Yeah, no, that's
Always changes a
awesome.
bit.
You've been with NCHOM longer than me.
Yeah, well, that's the nature of it, though. So don't put it on a pedestal too much. I'm just gonna clean up my background a bit.
Of course, no problem. Hi, Sebastian. How are you?
There you go. Hey, Gabriel, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much. Thank you both for joining us.
Pleasure.
Shouldn't be very long. We still have 2 judges missing, and at
Yep.
3:00 the participants should join.
Yep.
So I just want to let you guys know beforehand. Normally there would be 3 presentations, but unfortunately we had 1 team drop out this morning, so we're only gonna have 2.
Yep.
So the third one, well, you guys can leave early.
Okay.
Last year, I actually started with 3 and I ended with 1.
Really?
There was like disqualifications or something to that end. So
Yes, yes.
Hello, Gabrielle.
Hello.
Gabriel, how are you?
Good. And you?
I'm good. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming and being part of this competition. We really appreciate it. We're missing one more judge, and people should be coming in at around 3.
Gabrielle, is there much concern about in like 5G or other fiber optic installations about like wasting materials? Like if something goes wrong, end up wasting cable or things like that?
Not more than with the previous generations of networks like 4G and stuff.
Okay.
If anything, probably less because it's all based on fiber optics anyway. And the previous generation was based on some copper and other types of cables and stuff. But with the fiber optics, it's like pretty streamlined. Yeah. No, not that much.
I guess I'm just curious what variety of say eco-oriented progression we'll see from the teams.
Yep, me too. Of course, we didn't want to force any solution, but some path that we already are exploring or explored is the kind of software we can run on the devices and the instruments, so that the technicians can be much more effective. So when they get at a site and they have to do a test, so they do a test, but based on the results, that we automatically figure out what kind of test they could further do, and then make sure that they have the equipment either in their truck or that the instrument they're using, it can already be pre-configured for those other tests based on what we've seen in the past, rather than, okay, that result, then I cannot go further. I have to go back home and send either another day, another technician or something. So yeah, like when you think about rolling the high-speed networks in the rural space, that could be very long distance done every day. It's pretty crazy the amount of movement that technicians do with no value.
Excuse me, I'm gonna have to stop you guys.
Yep.
So it's 3 o'clock. The first team is gonna show up. I'll let them come in the room, but right before, I just want to let you know that we only have 2 presentations and not 3. Okay, so the 2 first, and then you guys are like go early.
Okay.
So I'll let the first team in. Hi, everyone. If you don't mind, one person can share their screen. I'm going to let you guys know of the breakdown of this presentation. You have 5 minutes to set up, and then 15 minutes of presentation, 15 minutes of Q&A, and then there's a 15-minute where judges will be going in their own judge breakout room and participants will be going in their own participants breakout room. And during that time, judges can deliberate and input their scores. And once that is done, there is a 10-minute feedback period where everyone comes back to the main room and judges can give feedback on the presentation. So when you're ready, please start sharing and we'll get started.
You all ready to go?
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Perfect. I will start the timer. Good luck.
Perfect. Thank you. Hello and welcome. My name is Elena and I am a part of Renew Consulting. My other teammates are Robin, Matea, and Uzoma, and we are here to talk to you about our solution. So the problem was to develop a to develop a plan to reduce the environmental impact of 5G network rollout to make a more efficient and eco-friendly method. So let's talk about the engineering solution first. So we decided to use drones to perform over-the-air measurements and reduce the need for personnel to have to drive out to travel, and it would also reduce the cost of the personnel. So next we want to talk to you about the supply chain. So the current issues in the supply chain at the moment are the various suppliers. So this leads to prolonged periods of time waiting on parts to be delivered, especially from a variety of different areas around the world. There is also currently a shortage of shipping containers due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and there is also a shortage of shipping personnel and cargo loaders at each bay and dock. And these will lead to increased lead times on products, and in turn leads to increased lead times on product delivery. So our recommendations to combat this are to use predictive analytics. So this is where news reports, weather analytics, COVID-19 restrictions, they're all taken into account, and these are all considered when placing the orders. We've also recommended for sustainable packaging to be used. So materials such as Tyvek, which will reduce packaging waste, and it will also reduce the carbon footprint. And we've also recommended to use just-in-time ordering, which is used to reduce the number of orders placed and in turn reduce the number of travel and the amount of carbon emissions. So next I'm going to pass you on to Uzoma.
Thanks, Elena. In regards to the disorganization and misassigning of tasks, we will incorporate an EXFO app where the technicians will be able to log in and give their locations. The customer, our clients, can log in their reports and requests for technicians, and a list of available technicians and super technicians will be assigned via AI. It will be assigned, the right person for the task will be assigned, and this will be done through an easy-to-use interface app. And after the job is done, the technicians can load their files from the testing equipment up to the database, where the relevant people can access all the information needed in case a retest is required. Next, sorry. Thanks. Next we tackled the personnel. Sorry. And next we tackled personnel. So with personnel, we wanted to benefit the workers and increase morale within the workers. So we took into account their feedback and their dislikes. So the app will help the personnel in return in regards to increasing the productivity, it being more efficient, and for the operation manager, they won't require like technical expertise. So and it will also remove the requirement to dispatch each technician. A drone pilot is also required, so we would need to hire new drone pilots and app maintenance people in regards to personnel. And next we have our implementation plan. So for the implementation plan, we require a series of drones, and we require the purchase of new hybrid transport vehicles. This will tackle the environmental concerns. We will purchase hybrid petrol vehicles to allow for, it will be cheaper for the EXFO, and also it will save CO2 emissions. And we will develop an app. We are also required to develop an app and install the app on each employee's phone. And for resources, we need the drone pilots and the app maintenance as stated before. So our 3-year plan includes in year 1, purchasing of the hybrid vehicles and the development of our app. In year 2, the incorporation of the app into everyday usage and the purchase of drones. And in year 3, to fully incorporate the drones into the over-air measurement testing. Next, I will pass you on to Mattia for the business plan.
Thank you, Zama. So this is our EXFO app flowchart. So just to explain how it works. So when a customer logs into the system, it will choose the relevant option. That option will mean different fields. So the system will know which employee to search for different tasks. The employee search. So if the available employee has been found, the employee has been assigned then. If available employee is not found, then it is assigned to a waiting list. And this waiting list is also linked to employees logging information, where they choose information options such as work, available, on leave, busy, or location. So every time we have available employee, then the employee search will start again, and then it will the employee will be assigned. When employee has been assigned, then he has to accept the work. So if the work has not been accepted, it goes again to employee search. So if the work has been accepted, it is pending, so they're working on it. And then if it's resolved, we're coming to an end. And if it's not resolved, it has been, then it will be escalated to a manager. And then when it's resolved, it will come to an end. Next, I will talk about the value proposition canvas. So this will show what are the customer values and how our solution will fit into those values. So customer jobs are to reduce the impact on the environment. They want to gain less duplication, more time. They want to save money. Their pains are that dispatching technician for retesting. So people are going twice instead of once on site, losing trust in leadership, receiving customer complaints, not having the right tools. And our solution will give them pain relievers with our EXFO app, game creators such as more time, saving money, and less duplication by employee scheduling and assigning jobs, and also products and services such as drones, and of course our EXFO app. I will pass you on now to Robin to discuss benefits to customers.
Thanks, Mattia. My name is Robin, and I'm going to speak to you about the marketing and the financial concerns regarding our proposal. So initially, we looked at the benefits to the customers. The existing customers, such as the large telecom providers, they're under pressure to provide faster internet as more and more people are working from home during the pandemic. Our solution provides a way for those companies to provide secure, faster, more reliable, their own customers then working from home. Smart logistics is a concern. There's increased dependence on machines for task performance. These machines will be connected to a 5G network throughout the business, and reliable and no downtime is essential for these. For the customers who purchase products from EXFO, they will enjoy a less packaging and less waste to manage. From an investor's point of view, it benefits them because the environmentally sustainable practices addresses any legislative pressures that are upcoming as governments around the world levy fines and such on companies who aren't operating in an environmentally sustainable way. It also attracts potential employees. So a recent survey of the post-COVID workplace, 65% of people reported that they will be more likely to work for a company with a strong environmental policy. And there are companies to the operations of EXFO as well. So they have reduced running costs, such as the hybrid vehicles and the drones. They provide less reliance on fossil fuels when the volatile oil markets. The lack of duplication of tasks and the more efficient work practices create less costs, less labor costs if less staff are duplicating tasks. They've better forecasting through the use of AI and predictive analytics through our solution. But this allows for better use of reporting and decision making. So the faster and safer work environments through the use of drone technology and minimal disruption for the current employees. So the marketing strategy is positioning to create awareness change. Trade fairs and corporate events are really useful for this. marketing emails, so promotion of changes to existing customers, pay-per-click advertising on business and financial websites, and blog and guest articles in the major business publications. So now I will take you through the financial section of our proposal. So the initial investment costs for this are a hybrid vehicle costs on average between $9,000 and $44,000 vehicle, but the company can enjoy a federal tax credit of $7,500 per vehicle. A long-range drone costs around $11,000. The personnel to operate the drone, their salary on average is $58,280 per year. And the investment in the environmentally packaging. In general, the customer package options to ensure maximum availability and maximum return on their shipping containers and trucks, etc. The cost surrounding the app development. So on average, a software engineer in the US earns $119,000 per year, and we would estimate that it would take 3 software engineers to design, develop, and maintain this app. Another cost that may not be included, that they may not already have, is an AWS cloud access. So that would cost approximately €73,800 or $800 per year. So that brings us a total to $430,800 for a custom built and maintained application. So they would need to invest in environmentally friendly packaging. Again, the costs for this were difficult for us to pin down because we recommend that they look on each individual product, but an estimate 1.5 cents per unit of biodegradable plastic versus 1.3 cents per unit of traditional. As we move on to the operational cost, so the average gas price in the US is $3.83 per gallon, but a hybrid vehicle reduces that cost by 30%, which leaves $2.69 per gallon. The specialized staff to maintain for software developer in the US. And an average salary for a data scientist working in the US is $109,000 per employee. The continued AWS subscription fees to host a software platform, $3,800 per year, going by the prices quoted by Malwarebytes. And the costs for battery charging for the drone would be negligible. The maintenance costs that would be incurred, hybrid vehicles cost approximately 30% less to maintain per year over standard petrol vehicles. They've outsourced the systems architecture to AWS, so the maintenance costs for that are included in the subscription. The increased employee salaries with the new hires on an ongoing basis. And looking through the drone maintenance, they would need to pay $5 per year for an FFA license, which would allow them to use the United States airspace. And replacement parts and servicing is estimated to be $150 per year. We will now take any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we're now going to go to the Q&A section. So if the judges have any questions, now is the time. Thank you.
Would Gabrielle or Sebastian, would you guys like to lead off?
Yeah, sure, I could. So you had a point about just-in-time ordering, which is quite interesting. So how would you circumvent the supply chain issue when there are some delays in production and delivery and everything if the customers are just-in-time ordering their equipment?
I can take that one. With the increased use of the predictive analytics that we've proposed, that they would take into account the current turnaround times and would create better and more realistic lead times on that. So the more that is ordered, the better that the predictions would come, so that the just-in-time could be narrowed down, leading to reduced warehouse space. which reduce costs and which reduce environmental impact as well, with things such as air conditioning and such like that.
Thanks.
I suppose I might jump in with just a question. I like the rigor you guys went through in coming up with the assumptions that went into your financials. Wondering whether you could give the broad strokes, the conclusions. Maybe again, maybe I missed it, but what say value is this expected to create for your customers, basically, fiber optic installers or maintainers, and also what value is this expected to create for EXFO?
I could take that one again. Do you mean bottom line figures, or with regards to the benefits to the customers and the benefits to the company?
No, like money wise. We talked about there's an investment on behalf of EXFO.
Sure.
So what are we expected to achieve with that investment? If it looked like maybe we're spending a few $100,000 up front, and then maybe $1 million a year or something like that for the extra staff and whatever. How is that gonna create value, or what's the payback on these types of things, and where is that seen?
So the payback on that with regards to the transportation costs would be around 30% less than they're currently paying after the initial investment.
Okay, so who pays the transportation costs though?
Well, from my understanding of the brief, that the company already pays transportation costs, that they pay for the trucks to go out to fix the faults and to test the lines and such like that. So I'm under the impression that they already pay this cost. So our proposal will reduce those costs by 30%.
Okay.
And as for the returned investment on the app, I imagine it would be difficult to pin down any monetary value on that. It would be more in the lines of increased work productivity, increased efficiency, increased value in the predictive analytics space, the predictive faults. So our app the engineers would log the fault at the end, and that information would then be used to feed back into the machine learning and teach the machine, better to predict faults. So again, it would be difficult to put a figure on that. It would be more in the lines of a better work practices.
Thanks.
I have a few questions. The first one may be related to the marketing side. So you mentioned you will go through those campaigns online and on the blogs. Is there messages you want to push to the customer that is specific? Like, what's the strategy there more specifically? What's the message you're trying to promote?
I think I'll take it again. The message we'd be trying to promote is that we're changing, that the company has changed, that it's adopted all these green methodologies, which is extremely marketable at the moment. You see a lot of companies going towards this kind of green, where we're so environmentally friendly, and it's quite trendy, and it's quite desirable for other companies to hire companies who would have this kind of green approach to it. So that would be just about to change the brand awareness rather than market better. It's more about thank you. It's more about changing with the customers that were already there. It's more about changing it and changing their opinion of the company.
Great. And you touched a little bit on the supply chain. Maybe I missed it, but how will the solution improve the current supply chain issues that they're facing, and how will that kind of improve post kind of pandemic?
Well, in regards to the supply chain, we are going to use predictive analysis. For example, there was a storm in Ireland not long, this week, and due to the storm, a lot of the supply chain was delayed. So we would use the predictive analysis to predict, even with the pandemic, to predict the lockdown regulations in each country, and then we will know information about the supply chain and whether to order earlier or later, or we'll be able to interpret this information.
And another point on the supply chain is that when we look at the reduced packaging, so if you create smaller packaging and if you create less waste in the packaging, you can fit more items onto a shipping container. So therefore you're importing more, you're getting more value out of your shipping container cost, and your trucks as such like that, and your distribution once it's been been finished. So you're getting more value out of your transportation costs as well.
Perfect, thank you.
So I'd like to come back on the mobile app that you're proposing and the benefits of it. So obviously it's gonna capture some data about how the user does the job, the kind of results they're getting, etc. So how do you address the privacy aspect of capturing data on about the technician jobs and how he does his job?
In regards to the app, the data is only going to be shared to the people who need it. So the technician will be on a job and they will finish their job and lodge the information, and it will only be viewable by the technicians who need to go back for a retest. Like it wouldn't just be available to everyone on the app or all the employees. So in that sense, like only who needs it would get the information. And then in terms of like the location of the technician, no one will be able to see that, but the customer will be able to go on, say that they need a technician, and then be able to request one, and the one who's available and most suited to the job will be sent to them in that sense.
Okay.
And just another point on that as well, in the brief it says that the employees are already using their phones to log issues and such like that. So there is an assumption there that there would already be a data protection element there to protect data and privacy and things like that. So we could recommend some other like COBIT frameworks that they could use to protect data privacy. But we have the assumption there that they already have a data privacy element to it.
Okay.
I recognize that drones are a part of your plan to help decrease the manual, visits by technicians. What types of events are drones going to be able to pick up on, and what percentage of say visits by technicians do you think you'll be able to avoid because of the drone technology implementation?
Well, with the implementation of the drones, we would mainly I believe we'll implement it to do with implement it in areas like more built up areas, and we'll obviously be doing some testing before going out to rural areas. And if we're using our predictive analysis already, we could use that in regards to weather or storms, and yeah.
There's another telecommunications company that's already using drones to perform tests on ours. So I mean, it's already possible. The technology is already there and it's already being used in this space. So that's something that we were kind of looking at. I think Elena, you might have more information on that.
Yeah, the drones are more to actually reduce the need for technicians 100% to have to perform the 5G spectrum analysis where they have to climb the tower. Instead, we're thinking more in terms of their safety, and also in terms of they don't have to drive out to all these dangerous locations, and they don't have to carry all the equipment up, perform the test, come back down, and things like that. Yeah, drones are being used in a variety of other areas as well, as Robin says, in telecommunications.
Thank you.
Just to continue on that question about the drone, so you mentioned long-range drone pilots. So have you considered any autonomous drones or something in the solution?
For the moment, no. We were thinking of once a technician is out on a call, if they need to, then we would have either them with the drone pilot together, or we would consider autonomous drones later. But for now, no. Just we would like to have them driven.
Any particular reason?
There is autonomous drones being tested for this type of use, but there's a lot with the drone, like something happening to the drone and no one being there to control it. That would be a concern, and that could lose the company money if stuff were to happen to the drones. So it would make more sense that it would be driven first, and then as the technology develops, we could find an autonomous one that we could use.
Okay.
More questions?
I'm wondering about how the company functions in terms of HR policies. I noted on your investments, you've considered salaries. What types of benefits does EXFO provide, and what are the carrying costs of an employee in that regard?
So that's not an element of the company that I would be familiar with myself. And the labor laws and such like that, and what would be expected in an American company, it's not what I'd be familiar with. With regards to the company and the caring policy, again, like the salary that we push is just what an average software developer would be using. Honestly, I can't comment on the HR policies of the company in that I'm not familiar with it, and it is not something that we looked at with the scope of this project.
Sure. Thanks.
Last call. Any more questions? Perfect. So at the bottom of your screen, you have a breakout room button. I'm going to invite the judges to go to the judges deliberation room and the participants to go to the participant room. The judges will have 15 minutes to fill in the scores and to also discuss about the presentation. So I'm going to invite you to...
I don't have a breakout button.
I don't have it either. Yeah.
Okay, I will move you then. No worries.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Let me see. Do you see the button now?
I don't know.
Okay, no worries.
It's there now, Gabrielle. Thanks.
Thank you so much. You should be getting pop-ups.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I got it now. Thank you.
thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming back. We'll just let the participants come back as well. Perfect. So thank you, judges, and thank you, participants. Thank you, Renew. So we have 10 minutes of feedback. So when the judges are ready, the floor is yours.
I guess I can lead off. Thanks for the presentation. I think you guys did a great job of identifying different solutions that would definitely help to close the gap on the eco efficiency challenge, if we call it that. What my main comment would be, what I would like to see from the business strategy perspective would be translating the strategy, which I think was fairly well articulated and made sense, the different types of solutions you were proposing. But what I didn't understand was, if we're selling this to executive level people and asking them to make the investment in additional employees, I didn't understand where the dollars and cents added up on the other end, where the positive value was going to occur and how much of it was going to occur. So a suggestion I'd make in the future would be include some information. You did a great job listing your assumptions, but I didn't really see the great scope or the bigger scope of the financial picture, and what the company was going to get out of it. So that would be a comment for next time.
Yeah, I'll also add a few things here. And great presentation, loved it. Maybe more on the how to kind of build or structure the presentation. What I would have liked, and maybe that was just me, I got a little bit slow to kind of get into the presentation, but maybe start with a little, like, just a minute just to do like a quick background of the case, like the objective and what's the problem, and then dive into it just to kind of get us or the audience like a little bit more into the of the rhythm of the case, with an agenda probably at the beginning, just like, hey, here's EXFO, here's their problem, here's a quick agenda, we'll walk you through those, and at the end just a conclusion page, like with like 3 points, like, here's a problem, here's our solution, here's the benefits of our solution, just to add to Andrew's point. And overall it was well done, like I really liked it. What I would have probably liked a little bit more, and same with Andrew's, like just maybe go a little bit more in details on the solutions. But overall, it was a well done presentation.
So from my perspective, I agree with Andrew and Sebastien here. Obviously, it's so I'm from EXFO, by the way, Chief Technology Officer. So that's the case that we definitely discuss internally, and obviously a lot of ideas that we talk in the drones. That's not one that we've seen previously. So that was a good idea. So I too felt that there were some good ideas, but and it was difficult to see how all this connect together and support each of those points, right? Where 1 + 1 would make 3, which would make it much more compelling when you look at it and say, yeah, I want to go this way, I want to put money into that. So like mobile app and drones, okay, it seems like 2 different things, but there might have been a way to connect those together, and why, right? And that kind of things would make it just more powerful and more punchy. I don't know where you guys take your statistics about salary. So I don't know, maybe some reports or things. One thing I know, it's like maybe for your own knowledge, is like prior to EXFO, I was at Element AI, which you may have heard of, when I started up in Montreal for AI. I was co-founder there, and AI, ML people are much more expensive than 109. So when I saw the engineer 119, yeah, okay, that's a good engineer. But ML people, it's more than that. They will just after their master will get at least twice as much as that at Facebook or Google, and they won't have a problem finding a job there, right? So that's just reality. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality. And my other thought was around the supply chain issue. The supply chain issue is much more bad than this, right? It's predictive analytics is part of the solution. It's definitely something that can be looked at, but even there, like today, just to get like the lead time to get a laser or a CPU of a certain brand that we'll put in the instruments, and I think you've seen the pictures in the document, right? It's a ruggedized device that the technicians will bring on the field, and they will drop it on the ground. So we put those things in fridge, and then in a oven, and then in the fridge again, and the variation on the measure we take on the laser in the optical fiber will have to be between some range. It's all certified and everything. So when we source the components, we have to get some kind of inventory upfront. So when the provider just stop building them, it might mean to us that we need to redesign the whole hardware so that we know it's going to work together and will still be certified. And that's really bad. So predictive analytics will help for some time ahead, but you can imagine that in some cases we may have to build inventory for 1 or 2 years of being able to manufacture those equipment. So from my perspective, I would have expected that you would have gone a bit further than that in terms of what we could do in terms of limiting the dependency of EXFO in manufacturing those equipment. So maybe reducing the amount of electronics or components, removing the screens from the thing, reuse more of the phone, which everyone has anyway. So it's less electronic on the hertz to produce, to ship, to assemble, and then that will have to be recycled afterward. So overall, that could have a huge impact. So again, predictive analytics is part of it, but I would have expected, since it's such a big problem that we've been talking about like worldwide for the last 12 months or so, that you guys would have been just a bit further into that, a bit deeper into that issue. So just a thought around that.
And to build on the aspect of salaries, what I was getting at is actually that a person who's paid $100,000 doesn't cost a company $100,000. Cost them, rule of thumb, probably 50% more. Benefits, technology to provide them, office space for them to live in, other expenses, things like that. So just keep that in mind. On that same front, probably in the scope of kind of a presentation like this, I wouldn't necessarily list salaries at such a detailed level. I might list them in categories and ranges. If you said an engineer is going to cost me $200,000 a year, I'm going to have 5 of them. Boom, $1 million. Fantastic. For the person who's seeing the presentation, that's kind of what they need to understand. Okay, invest $5 million up front. $2 million every year thereon after. We're going to increase sales by $7 million a year. So hey, at the end of year 8, we're good to go. This makes sense. Let's go. Let's do it. And that was one. No, let's just leave it at that. That was my comment on HR. That's, yeah.
And just maybe to add to that, I think it's Robin or Elaine, I don't remember, but just said like, hey, I don't know the answer. Like, I just like that. Like, if you don't know, just say it. Don't try to spin something around it. So if you didn't know the answers, like, just say it. There's nothing to be ashamed of on that. So that was a good answer on that front. If you didn't know the answer.
It's a great point.
So I guess just one final comment if we have time. In terms of the flow of the presentation, 1 minute, yeah, but I have time. So there was a lot of useful information, but some information came late. For example, when I saw drones, I was like, oh, cool, that's cool. And then later on, there was a smaller bullet point about long-range drone pilots. which was new to me, but it was in a different part of the presentation, right? So it's part of the solution, the technical solution itself, or the engineering part. So that was new information that's pretty critical to the solution that was introduced later in the flow. So I was trying to keep notes, but they were, there's some new information appearing on things so I was going back into my notes. So just in terms of the flow, would have been good to maybe just package the information maybe a different way so that it flows well.
So this concludes our feedback period. Thank you so much to the Renew Consulting team. You guys are great. And we'll see you tomorrow for the next case.
Thank you so much for all your feedback. It's been really, really valuable to us. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to you.
All the best.
Very welcome. Cheers.
Bye, everyone.
Thank
Thanks
you.
again.
Thank you so much. I think we have our VP academics that would just like to say a few words before we let the next team come in. Gab, the floor is yours.
Hi. Hi, judges. I hope that was a good first presentation for all of you. I just want to see, is Nicola in the room?
He actually left, I think.
He left?
I think
Okay.
he's having Wi-Fi issues, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I just came in just to make sure that if he if he was able to look at the presentation and everything. That was mainly the point.
Okay, well, I'll let you know if he comes back.
If he comes back, I guess you can ask the same questions just to make sure.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'll let you know.
Okay, good luck all the other judges, the rest of your presentations. Hope it's going well.
Thanks, Gabriel.
All right, see ya.
3 Gabrielles in one room. It's quite a popular name.
So the next team is Crossroads, and it's the third team that we won't see.
Exactly. So I'll let them in very shortly. Okay, I'll let them in. So hello, Crossroad Consulting. Welcome to the presentation room. When you're ready, just share your screen and we'll be able to start. While you do that, I will tell you about the breakdown. So you have 5 minutes to set up, and then there will be a 15-minute presentation followed by a 15-minute Q&A. After that, there's going to be a 15-minute period where the judges will go in their own room to deliberate and input the scores, and the participants will go in another breakout room. And when that is done, everyone comes back to the main room for the 10-minute feedback period.
Great, thank you. Are you able to hear me? Testing, testing.
Yes.
Yes.
Great.
Okay. So when you are ready.
All right. Good afternoon, EXFO Board of Directors. We really appreciate you having us here today to discuss your new environmentalism initiative. Let's introduce ourselves first. We are Crossroads Consulting. My name is Joe Consorti. I am the finance and economics expert.
My name is Connor McCormick, and I'm the marketing expert.
My name is Olivia Mead. I'm the environmental engineering expert.
And my name is Will Jeffries in mechanical engineering.
So some quick background on EXFO is that it's based in Quebec. It was recently privatized in September of 2021 and manufactures testing equipment for fiber optics and provides service for the testing, operation, and analytics of this. And customer satisfaction is a high priority. The challenge we were given today was to develop a plan to reduce the environmental impact of the 5G network rollout.
So the initiative we have for you today in order to resolve this is called the 5 Green Plan. Obviously a play on words there. This is a 3-pronged solution. So the first prong being a new and updated task accounting system, the second prong being network monitoring drones, and the third being interoperable diagnosis nodes. So taking a quick look at the industry as a whole, the way that we arrived at this is the telecom infrastructure as it stands today consists of towers and masts, antennas, as well as cables and power generation. And the environmental challenges that naturally come along with this are, as you see here, largely carbon emissions based. You see that disrupting habitats is also a huge concern, air pollution, all these different things. And so these were all factors that we considered when making our solution.
Here's our alternatives decision matrix. So as you can see, we looked at a couple of other alternatives to the design we ended up with, but 5 Green Plan is the most practical solution for what we developed. So now we're going into our solution, the first of which being the task accounting. So with this, this part of our solution, we would have a software system to automatically record maintenance work notes and potential future issues, which would be accessible to all technicians across the company, so everybody can have access to this important information. Why we decided to do this was because it would eliminate multiple visits to junctions, which helps with the carbon footprint of the company by reducing the amount of travel needed to get to those specific junctions, and will reduce frustration among technicians for having to make multiple visits. This will also increase the level of collaboration and information sharing across the company. We will do this by sending the test reports to sync with the software and any information that AI gathers as well, and it will be compatible with phones, so you can pick it up from any location.
In the next phase, we would be deploying our innovative network monitoring drone system. This is phase 2, where we would be deploying our initial fleet of these drones, and in order to allow for a successful and gradual rollout of all these features, these drones would initially be capable simply of the remote over-the-air analysis of cell phone towers, as well as quickly and precisely locating any unwanted signals with quick triangulation since they're airborne. Some of the resources for deploying this would be hiring a program manager who has extensive experience with managing drone fleets, as well as trainers to provide our own technicians with the skill sets that they need to manage these new tools. This provides many benefits. It would improve the frequency that we're able to monitor these systems, as well as improve project awareness that we're consulting with, as well as improving diagnosis accuracy. It would also help to address many of the concerns of these 5G networks, such as safety when technicians have to climb these towers, especially on the environmental impacts with vehicle travel and the overall costs surrounding the maintenance and setup of these systems. Finally, in phase 3, we would roll out our next level of interoperable diagnosis nodes. These nodes are designed for our next generation of drones to plug into automatically in the field, and from there they would be able to direct more manual fiber inspection, optical power measurement, fiber link characteristics. These same platforms are also very versatile for the augmentation of future technologies, and personnel would still perform 2 out of the primary 6 tasks of field analysis and testing.
So now the main focus of our design was to solve the challenge that we were given today, which was to reduce the environmental footprint of this 5G rollout. So one of the parameters of this was transportation, and because the truck rolls are numerous and redundant, our 5 Green solution would eliminate the truck usage by 75% using the drones that Will just talked about. It would also lessen air pollution because we would be flying electric drones. And the land use could be minimized in the future as well, because we wouldn't need as much maintenance and care for roads so vehicles could access it.
As a quick and very specific example of the difference between these truck rolls versus what we are calling drone rolls, that is, considering a 40-mile round trip to conduct a routine system test or diagnosis, we're comparing the current method of sending out a technician in a service truck versus that same technician piloting a remote drone that can conduct 4 out of 6 routine tests. In the same trip, a drone would use roughly 1% of the energy that is required for a conventional truck, making that same trip, and produce an almost negligible carbon footprint by comparison. We also compared electric trucks as one possible alternative. However, these are still heavy vehicles that demand roughly 20 times the energy of a drone for the same job. And because energy sources can vary so greatly across Canada, the carbon footprint of these trucks would still be highly variable until clean energy sources become the norm. And with our proposed solution, we're hoping to replace 60% of current truck rolls with our drone rolls, thereby providing significant reductions in fuel use, carbon emissions, and allowing personnel to make much more effective use of their time in the field.
Thank you, Will. Let's dive into a little bit of the business side of things. So first things first, we're going to tackle financials. As you can see here, we did a preliminary expenditures breakdown on a 3-year time horizon. Our implementation plan that we view for the first rollout of this 5 Green initiative is going to take 3 years. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So the startup costs, which are your one and done initial fixed costs, you can see here on the screen, right? Largely involving R&D, some of those node patents. Airspace compliance is especially something that's important and needs to be considered here. So that is the first component that makes up the teal in the chart you can see there. Those are the startup costs. When it comes to maintenance costs, we multiplied these out for all 3 years. As you can see there, you can see for both maintenance costs and operating costs, it's roughly $168,000 a year and $218 respectively, but we multiplied it out for all 3 years. And you can see right here essentially what would be involved in the expenditures for this. So, new technicians. Will just spoke to the fact that we need operators and program managers and people to flight train other workers for the drone. So these are the expenditures that we have for you. And now on the next slide, we're actually going to dive into some cost breakdown. So obviously, why would our customers want to adopt this system? Well, obviously it's environmentally friendly, but how does it impact cost? Well, taking a look at this, the 5 Green model is feasible. That's what we're trying to get across here. So we did a cost comparison versus the old model, comparing the yearly total costs. Why is this enticing for someone? What's the incentive to switch over? Well, you can see we compared the old model on the teal right there at an average cost of roughly $114.5 million on a year. That's a total cost of sales and operations versus the 5 Green plan. Obviously, you can see there vast expenditure because of the fixed costs up front, but you can see it's more than feasible, right? As of Q3 for fiscal year 2021, $72.6 million in sales at a $4.3 million EBITDA. Largely, this EBITDA is very smaller than it generally is because, of course, you're privatizing right now. You're doing a stock buyback. So the startup costs, obviously being $4 million, you'll see cost savings by mid-2024 with a total of $1,422,000 total yearly savings by 2021.
All right, now let's take a look at the implementation timeline. So because there are 3 facets to our solution, we're going to start with the first one, just clarity, which is task accounting. So immediately on Monday, the first step is to start implementing and creating this task accounting system. There already is a task accounting system in place, but it could use some improvements. There were notes from the personnel that there are many redundant trips, multiple technicians are being called to the same location. So that's the first step. We estimate this will take about 6 months, and then from then on, this task accounting system should be used for the entirety of the project. Now, while the project is 3 years in its scope, it should be noted this task accounting system can be used way beyond that. This is just our current timeline. The next step would be the drones. So it's a little different than the task accounting system because manufacturing and engineering drones that we need for these things it's a little more difficult. So within the first year, before any drones are actually sent out, we have to train technicians on how to use the drones. Because these are technicians that aren't familiar with flying these, Joe mentioned that we're going to hire some experienced drone operators and managers, project managers that can help train the technicians over the course of 1 year. Hopefully by 2023, the first batch of drones will be rolled out. These drones will have OTA capabilities. They'll be able to scan the RF signals from above the cell towers. By 2024, hopefully the second version of the drones will be released. These drones having all of the capabilities that we mentioned, 4 out of 6 of them, and these drones will be out for a whole year. We're going to start this launch in Quebec. And again, while this is a 3-year timeline, these drones can go beyond 2025. This is just sort of the initial rollout. It will take, on estimate, about 3 years. The final step of the solution is the trickiest, but also the most creative, which is the nodes. So because this is a relatively new technology, it's going to take a while to engineer and manufacture it. So while the drones are being rolled out, while people are being trained on how to operate them, the nodes will be engineered and fine-tuned over the course of 2 years, from 2022 to 2024. Hopefully by 2024, the technology will be in place and they'll be able to be implemented in the key junctures, that being the points of the towers. And then by 2024 and 2025, the nodes will be in place and the drones will be able to fly to these nodes and we will be in full functionality. Let's take a step back and look at some of the marketing tactics that will be used. So the value proposition of the 5 Green Initiative can be broken down into short-term value and long-term value. So in short-term value, immediately, our clients would get better monitoring, a quicker diagnosis of problems, more product awareness. So even before the drones are released in their full functionality, with the OTA capabilities and the better task accessibility system, these problems will be caught much sooner and they'll be solved even faster. Long-term value, however, is calculated when the drones are in full effect. This will lead to, as Joe mentioned, lower prices, as we'll be cutting costs significantly for 2029, and reduce safety concerns, as we won't have people climbing towers anymore. And probably the most important one, reduce vehicle transportation. This will lower our carbon footprint by a significant amount. So how will this value proposition be marketed towards our clients? So it should be noted that consumer sentiment is increasing as far as environmentals go. 92% of companies in the S&P now file sustainability reports. So as EXFO is a B2B company, it's very important that we market to businesses that this is a sustainable initiative. The communication channels that will be emphasized will mainly be the website and sort of direct phone calls to existing clients. So there will be a green emphasis on the website highlighting this value proposition I just mentioned, and it will showcase the lower cost. And lastly, existing clients will be called and notified of the new initiatives that are taking place, and they'll be offered to join. Here's a look at an example website. This is a redesign that was whipped up very quickly. It's a very rough redesign, but this shows the product that is now available, which is the automated low carbon maintenance tools. And again, it's not a robust website redesign. There's plenty of time to do it, but this is just a simple look as to what can be done to notify our clients. So to wrap things up, let's take a look at some of the risks and mitigations. So one risk, which is high severity but low probability, is that workers are reluctant to utilize drones. It was mentioned in some of the worker personas that they're reluctant to change, they're unresponsive to change. So we would encourage the benefit of the drones and reiterate that there will be no job losses due to these machines taking over. While the drones are machines, they're still going to be controlled by technicians themselves. They will simply be retrained and they'll add another skill set to their arsenal. Another risk is that clients will not properly incorporate the node system, because this takes some collaboration with our clients to ensure that they install the nodes in their new fiber optic cables, but we would emphasize the cost savings of the node infrastructure, and if they're still not willing, we would shift our efforts elsewhere. The final risk, the highest probability but the lowest severity, is that we run into some technical difficulties with the node system. As this is a relatively new technology, we would simply just adjust our timeline and accommodate further R&D, and perhaps this 3-year time horizon would be 3.5 years or 4 years. It's a very flexible solution, and there's lots we can do with it.
So to wrap things up nicely and to tie it in a bow, obviously you brought us here today to pitch to you an idea for your sustainability initiative. You came to us with the cold hard truth that an industry like telecom comes with a lot of environmental impact, and you tasked us with developing a solution. I leave you with this quote: "A low carbon, clean energy economy can be an engine of growth for decades to come." This is obviously a quote from Barack Obama, our former president. And we view that our solution to your problem of reducing environmental impact will not only benefit telecom for years to come, but also benefit the world at large. So we'd like to thank you so much for listening, and now we will take any questions that you have.
Thank you to Crosswords Consulting. So we'll enter the Q&A period. If the judges have any questions, go right through it.
I have one question with regards to the nodes. So if I understand the solution right, the nodes would be somewhere where eventually the drones would go and plug in and do some like in-place testing, like on demand, I guess, when there's an issue. Did I understand it right?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. So did you consider an alternative where you would put a node, you could put a permanent let's say, EXFO device or instrument that would be connected to the network, something that would be there all the time instead of sending a drone. So did you consider that option?
Yes, the consideration was taken into account, and we believed that having those remote sensors would absolutely add value to the system. However, that drones would also be able to bring the perspective and the operability that technicians in the field are currently providing in those same systems. So it can be a two-part solution, certainly.
Okay.
Great job, guys. Everyone spoke really well and did a great job laying it out. Really like your rigor in the cost forecasting. And I'm just wondering if maybe somebody could go back through the financial model and just maybe I could better understand. There was a 3-year period being used. Could you explain kind of the how the model functions exactly? And yeah, sorry for the lack of detail in the question, but maybe you could just elaborate here.
No worries at all. So the way that we calculated these startup costs, well, actually, I'll back it up even more. So the 3-year time horizon was chosen mostly for the deployment of the nodes. Something like the task management system can be implemented on day one. One thing that we were discussing while mulling over the solution was that the very next Monday this can be incorporated. But something like the nodes, obviously, this is a huge technological innovation, a huge leap, and so that's why we chose the 3-year time horizon. To break down these costs and actually how we arrived at these figures, they're the furthest you can get from arbitrary. So when it comes to startup costs, obviously the R&D behind not just the nodes, but also the drones, very significant cost incurred there. We calculated not only the materials cost, the shipment of prefabbed drones, and then also our own technology would be well in the ballpark of $2.5 to $3 million. That's estimated using an average cost of 101 million Canadian dollars, roughly speaking, for each drone. And we'd be deploying 20 or so, and then obviously in-house fabrication as well. So that's where a lot of the startup costs came from. In terms of maintenance costs, we looked at industry averages as well as EXFO's own 10K report, their financial reporting, to take a look at the existing, not only cost of sale, but also operating costs, other expenditures, in order to arrive at these estimates. We took a look at the existing labor costs, and we were able to do, obviously in the next slide, but we're sticking to this slide, we were able to do a comparison, and we arrived at what we felt was proper budgeting for the maintenance and operating costs. Obviously, the benefit of this being a 3-year time horizon, should these budgets be misallocated, which we don't believe they are, we've put in some due diligence here, then we do have time to readjust, reframe, and fix what is necessary. So that's how we arrived at these expenditures, a combination of industry averages as well as current pricing.
That's great. No, the rigor is there. More questions more on the lines of what benefit is adding to the company, and maybe it is the next slide, the model. So you have the old model, meaning just business as usual. Correct. And then so you're saying that you're effectively the value add is just by reducing costs.
Correct. The way that this was projected, we actually projected just this one 3-year rollout, right, in a small area of Quebec, through the entire company. So in actuality, the cost will be much larger if this were to get rolled out on a wider scale and all of our clients were to adopt this initiative.
Okay, and what's the payback period like in this situation?
Of course. So in terms of financing, one of the things that I mentioned was that we have $72.6 million in sales, and that's just quarterly as of Q3 2021. And we view that, more so the EBITDA, we view that as artificially low compared to years prior, because I mentioned very briefly, you guys are currently buying back stock. And so as of right now, you have less capital that's available to you to go towards these things. So currently on a quarter by quarter basis, right, if we're stretching this out to a year, you'd be using a quarter of your earnings for a year. So this is a huge commitment as of right now. Once stock repurchasing is complete and you guys are fully privatized again, you'll have a lot more capital to deploy to something like this. That's also one of the reasons that we felt it was necessary to only have this 3-year timeline. The reason we have it up through 2029 is because that's when you can expect all of these initiatives to fully kick in and be paid back.
Okay. So we're spending like $5 million up front. Then we're not saving money until we're not saving more than $1 million a year until 2027. So it's like a 10-year payback or something like that.
So you'll start to see cost savings at mid-2024. That's when we'll cross the threshold of yearly costs with the old business model.
Yeah, but we had to spend $5 million to get there, right?
Correct.
Yeah, it'll be a positive net present value in around 2027 or 2028.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I have a few questions. So and maybe we can tie that to all that conversation. So that we are assuming that everything goes well with the supply chain to get the drones in next year. I think you said 2023. But how do you see the issue with the supply chain and like how to get all of that moving efficiently throughout all of that 5 to 6 years period as we
Yeah, absolutely.
COVID and everything?
Right. So we consider this when analyzing our model, and based on EXFO's current supply chain standing, I believe EXFO is trying to sort of manufacture more in-house. We decided to purchase, the place we would purchase the initial drones is a Canadian retailer. So it's not from overseas, so hopefully they would be in stock. And then the remainder of the engineering would be done in-house in Canada, and we would be incorporating those tools that we produce onto the drones.
Great. And for the sustainability, so you mentioned later in the presentation about the sustainable report. Do you have any targets or any objectives sustainably wise that is in the next 3 years, 5 years for EXFO, or you haven't thought about that?
I think in terms of standards, we would like to be able to almost entirely limit our air pollution to almost nothing. I mean, the drones especially will help with that a lot. And then secondarily, to just continue to lower the carbon footprint. And with the drones being what they are, we hope we can get to around 50% of what is currently at.
One piece of information that we did not have to apply in this, but which you might be able to provide to help give a sense of scale in this, would be the number of service trips which are occurring on a regular basis, and then be able to take the numbers that we have here, apply them to the number of service trips currently taking place, and from there be able to see the impact in carbon footprint reduction, for example, fuel use reduction, for example. So we tried to make our numbers ones that would be scalable to what your figures have in terms of truck rollouts, for example.
I like the rigor, and I was able to kind of follow your logic in terms of the carbon analysis here. I wonder from the business strategy point of view, EXFO, we do use our own products, but we also sell our products to other companies, and technicians from those other companies use our products. So I'm wondering if you can just ad lib, maybe try to consider how the types of solutions you're putting forth might help our partner companies also achieve the same types of gains that we're talking about, and how might you approach that with them to get them on board as well?
Certainly, yes. In our own initial research, we did not find any patents or intellectual property on this type of landing node for the drones. And so that development could be a unique and patentable product. That, complete with the drone package, would be a unique service or product that could be offered to other clients, yes. I could certainly see that as a very compelling offering for the company as well, now that you mention it.
Great.
I don't know if our financial people would have anything to jump in there, but I definitely see the potential in what you suggested, Andrew. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. The best part about engineering these drones and implementing this node system is that it's very scalable. So while we're launching it in Quebec, these things can be sold. So perhaps there would be a future partnership with a drone manufacturer rather than us just purchasing the product. Maybe a partnership where we work together and we implement these tools into these drones, then we're able to sell it to third-party other businesses so they can utilize it and be sustainable as well and efficient.
And our initial research saw early uses of drones for this type of monitoring of construction projects, but nothing that applied these same tools in particular for telecommunications. So this could be a very unique opportunity as well once these are developed.
Great. Good comments, guys.
Any more questions? Awesome. If we're done with the questions, we'll go to the 15-minute deliberation. The judges, you should have access to your judge room. If you don't, I will open them here and you should see a pop-up.
Yep, you got it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Here you go.
We're joining.
Perfect. I think we're all back. Yeah, so thank you so much, Crossroads Consulting. Now that the judges have reported their scores, I apologize. We're now at the feedback period.
You're on mute, Andrew.
Yeah, so I'll just lead off and say great job. I think everybody, you guys worked very well as a team. Everybody spoke very clearly, very confidently. And it was a joy to watch because we could really understand the path you were taking us on, the strategy that you were putting forth. So congratulations, really great job.
Yeah, plus one on that. Very good story from the start. It all came together. We could see the evolution and why and how everything is attached to the next steps. It was logical. So even though the pace was pretty fast with a lot of information, because there was a logical, path, it was easier to follow somehow. Good stuff. So just a quick question. Did you guys get the financial statement from the last public ones that were out there for the numbers? I'm just curious.
I think it was.
No, Joe, you're on mute.
I got it. Okay, perfect. So we looked at the quarterly report and we got some of our numbers from there. And then we also got some reports from a third-party website that I have in my history, but I didn't put into our works cited because we didn't get around to making one. But the numbers are from the last quarterly report.
Got it from the website.
Got it from the website?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I figured out. The numbers seem pretty good.
I'm curious, are there more up-to-date numbers that we should be aware of to account for?
Not since last August, that's for sure, since we're private.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so great job, guys. Like the flow, as they all both mentioned. I like the intro, like the industry analysis, little SWOT analysis there. You went through a presentation quite nicely, all well rehearsed, well polished. So overall, just great presentation. Maybe the only comment, that's what we're discussing, I don't know, on the other side, let's call it, in the breakout room. Just a supply chain management, I don't think it was in the presentation. Was it something you thought about, but just wasn't able to include it due to time constraint, or?
Yeah, we did talk about it when deliberating. We actually meant to make a slide about it, but I think we were a bit pressed for time. But that was definitely something we should have hammered upon more. Yes.
I like how you went into the effort of calculating carbon footprint and the mitigation that would take place. That's important. And same thing with the financials. There was some rigor to it, which was great. My only comment would be maybe just try to hit on a slide with the big point, hey, over a 10-year period, this is a, 2 megatons of avoided greenhouse gas emissions, and compare that to, people love doing this, right? In the green world, that's like saving the Appalachian forests, or whatever you want to use, or all the cars that are driven to hockey games in Canada for a whole year. Anyway, that might be, if you're trying to sell it to executive level, perhaps, anyways, that's how they might sell it to the public. And same thing with the finances, would be taking your graph there and translating that to saying, and hey, after 6 or 8 years, investments paid for, you're saving this amount of money a year, and so let's go. But again, we recognize you guys are pressed for time, and I think the rigor was great. I guess just sometimes when you're doing the work, you're so proud and the details of how you've come up with everything. Sometimes it takes a big step back at the end to imagine, if you've never seen this before, what message are you trying to get across? But regardless, great rigor, and that's much appreciated.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. Thank you for the input.
Yeah.
I guess another comment would be maybe we could talk about the node system, and then we brought up the aspect of the who's the customer and the client, and you're the second team we've seen, and both teams, I don't want to say misinterpreted because it's not entirely true, but the primary client is the technicians of telecom providers who are using the hardware.
Oh, okay.
That being said, like, I'm not going to hold it against you guys because it was clear the way you assumed it. And as I said, you're the second team in a row to assume it like that. But and you did a great job on your feet, being like, oh well, what could we do with our business partners, which are the telecom providers who are buying the equipment for their technicians to use. So it's a value proposition to them to green their operations and save money at the same time, like most green economic things are very capable of doing. Just food for thought, I guess.
Absolutely.
I really like the touch of taking a screenshot of the website and putting what it could look like. That makes it very tangible and concrete. So that was nice. I guess that's why we're struggling to find some constructive feedback. It's just because it was real good stuff, right? So
thank you.
Well, the judges are done with the feedback. Thank you so much, Crosswords Consulting. You guys did amazing. And I'll see you guys for tomorrow's case.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Have a good night, judges.
Thank you all.
good job.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care. Bye. Everybody like that?
So this concludes it for us. Thank you so much to all of you for spending this time with us, the Inchcom team. Really appreciate it. We wouldn't be able to do a Inchcom competition without you guys. So thank you so much, and we hope to have you again next year.